New webcam, new headset. Let's go! I cannot tell you how anxious I am to make this video right now. In all the years that I've been making videos on my YouTube channel specifically, I don't think I've ever been so nervous, so anxious, so uncertain, so nervous about making any video before, let alone an unboxing or an overview, or in this particular case, a reveal. I'm not exaggerating when I say I have spent months trying to come up with excuses to not make this video, as strange as it sounds. Ideally, I should have made this video in late February 2024 because I was in the heat of the moment, I was focused on it, but I was not ready to go. Mid-February 2024 sent me one hell of a curveball, which this video is a direct result of. What I should have done is record the video while I was unboxing. That's what I should have done. Ideally, that's what I should have done, but I was not in a good state at that point. As I'm unboxing, I was an absolute emotional mess at that point. I would not have been pretty for the camera, as the case would be. I would not have been focused in. Well, I wouldn't have had this brand new headset and this brand new webcam to help me out with that. So, and that light just burned out. Wow. All right then. Great. Oh, and now it's back. All right. Whatever. But suffice it to say, it occurred to me at the time, maybe I should deliberately get some distance, deliberately put it off until I can get a little more balanced, a little more even, a little more focused the way that I normally am. As a direct result of this, making this video has turned me into a nervous wreck. I'm ordinarily not. And this video is going to be fairly unique amongst all the videos that I ever have or probably ever will make. This one has been the most nerve-wracking to set up. And I just, I both wanted to get this video over with as quickly as possible, but at the same time, I was also looking for excuses to not make it. This has actually gotten to the point, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, it has gotten to the point where over the course of the last 3 months, I've actually been rehearsing what I'm going to say. I actually, sit here at my computer or whatever, and I'm literally talking out loud to myself. There's nobody else here, talking to myself. Should I say this? Should I point that out? Can I, because I'm known for being kind of long-winded, and more on that later, like, should I include this detail? Should I leave that out? What can I afford to leave in? What can I afford to push aside? This video is being made as much for me as it is for you. Ordinarily, I make these videos and I just kind of off the cuff, whatever it is, I just kind of bleh, and that's how the videos are made. They take a bit of time, and as a result, they run really long. But in this particular case, I was actually rehearsing what I was going to say for 3 months. I was looking for excuses to not make it. Originally, I was going. When I finally worked up the courage to make it, I was like, okay, I'm going to make it on May 1st to celebrate the beginning of #Mermaid Challenge 2024. That's what I was going to do. And then I didn't make the deadline. Okay, all right, fine. I'll do it on May 2nd. No, didn't make it. How about May 3rd? No. How about May the 4th? Bad timing. So I was looking for excuses. And now here it is, May 24th, 2024, where I'm making this video. I'm finally kicking myself in the ass. Ava, Get the bloody thing over with. Like I said, this ordinarily doesn't happen. I just open the box and I'm just blah, 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 blah for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is. But this one in particular, this one is being made under extraordinary circumstances, circumstances which just 7 months ago I could not have imagined happening. Just 7 months ago, back in November of 2023, I could not have imagined this happening. I'm going to do the best that I can to make this as condensed and quick as I possibly can. And unfortunately, that means I'm going to be leaving out a lot of detail. I'm going to be leaving out a lot of intimate detail in this video. Now, gosh, Ava, what the heck have you got here in front of you that's leading to such a 7.5 minute? What the hell are you on about? Well, here's the catch, and this is important. It's not about what I have, but rather how and why I acquired it. How and why. That's the important thing in this video. And that is what has been delaying. That's the thing that I've been agonizing over for 8 minutes and 3 months at this point. It's a very long-winded intro, but that's the way this one's going to work. This truly is an unusual video for me. So this whole thing started back in, was it February or March of 2022? So this is 2 years ago when this started. When a young woman approached me on Discord, and she privately messaged me and said that she had a crush on me. Now, for the record, in 2022, I was 39 years old at that point, and I was deliberately not broadcasting or advertising, hey, ladies, I'm single and looking. I wasn't doing that. I wasn't doing that. Like, deliberately wasn't. And I have my reasons, and I'm not going to get into it here. But suffice it to say, she approached me first and said that she had taken a little bit of time to think about it, and that she was interested in forming a romantic relationship with me. And the very first thing I said was bullshit. You hate my guts. You object to absolutely everything that I say in the group. You've done everything you can to block me. You've done everything you can to belittle me. Why the hell should I trust you? And she responded with, well, yeah, I was putting on a bit of a facade at that point. So, I mean, hey, she has to have time to decide, I guess. I don't know. So, but anyways, and oh yeah, by the way, it turned out it was a she and not a he. Whatever. Easy mistake to make on the internet. So after a couple of days or weeks, I'll say a couple of days of just, I don't believe you, I don't believe you, I don't believe you. I was like, okay, all right, let's see where this thing goes. All right, fine. And thus began my very first ever romantic relationship, ever. I flirted with a girl in my senior year in high school for about 6 or 7 months, something like that. But it never amounted to anything. It didn't go anywhere, and I completely lost track of her after I graduated in 2001. So I don't really count that one. So this was sincerely my first actual sincere effort. I just repeated myself. Effort at pursuing a romantic relationship of some kind. So there was a period of months where I'm just trying to establish friendship, period. Do I actually like this person? Do I care about what this person thinks? That went on for several months. That went into summer 2022. Because this started in like late winter, early spring is when she first approached me, and then here it is, went through summer, and then eventually I warmed up to her. Her name is Julia, by the way. I warmed up to her, and I became interested. Like, okay, yeah, I can hang around with Julia. She's a nice enough person, and we share a number of things in common. So that was a good thing. I will broadly jump ahead now and say that for my first attempt at a first ever romantic relationship, that was redundant, Ava. What's wrong with you? It did not go smoothly. It did not go perfectly. There were uh, misunderstandings, and I thought you said that. Oh, you actually said that. Oh, my bad. Sorry. There were a lot of didn't keep track of it properly. There were a number of speed bumps. There were, and that's on both sides, by the way. It wasn't just on me. She also had a little bit of difficulty, and it's just that attempting to establish those communications. It actually got to the point where on my 40th birthday, she sent me a birthday card. Like, whoa. Now I'm not going to open this up because it's got personal stuff in here, but suffice it to say, you fold the thing open and it's a pop-up card of Ariel and Flounder from Disney's Little Mermaid. And I actually was on camera. I was actually, on camera, and I opened it up, and I absolutely loved it. It was adorable. So she got to see me reading it at the time. One of the things that was always so frustrating about my relationship with Julia is that, well, there were two things. There were two things that were frustrating about. The first one was the physical distance between us. We were not within, shall I say, driving distance. In fact, well, I mean, unless you count 2,300 miles driving distance, then it's whatever. Turned out that we lived on opposite sides of the continent. I live in Washington State, and she lives in Virginia. So, oh boy, how many times did I tell her, early on, Julia, you've got to find another guy who's closer to you. Trust me, there's a lot of options over there. So the physical distance between us was troublesome, was frustrating even at times. But it wasn't just the physical distance. We were so far away from each other, but the other problem was the age difference between us. I was 39 at the time, and she was 25 at the time. And a good chunk of 2022, like the majority of 2022, that bothered me. It's not that I can't I need to find somebody closer to my age. No, it was more like at that point at age 39 and then at age 40, would I be able to keep up with somebody who was almost half my age, almost. Um, so that was something that really bothered me, and that bothered me for a really long time. I don't know. I was thinking about the differences between our two clocks, how far along I am compared to how far along she was, and that really bothered me. So I had to spend a lot of time thinking about that, about those two things. But she insisted she was staying with it, and I certainly voiced it to her enough times. I was like, Julia, find another guy who's closer to your age and who's closer to your home, you know. But she insisted, so all right, I'll stay with it then. So that was kind of the first major hurdle that I had to overcome. There's that old saying, if you don't like what you see, change the channel. This is a case where you can't do that. You have to think long and hard about, do I actually want to change the channel or not? So I had to go through that, and that took a really long time just to sort that out. Now I have to kind of break from the video here, and I've been trying to think about how I'm going to say this next part. This is part of, like, when do I introduce this? When do I bring this part up? I guess now's the time to do it. Why the heck not? So it turned out that one of the reasons that she was interested in me, and turned out why I was interested in her, is because we were both longtime fans of Disney's Little Mermaid. Disney's adaptation of The Little Mermaid from 1999, hence why she gave me this particular birthday card. So it turns out we were both fans of TLM 89, the cartoon series from the early 1990s, and then the two direct-to-video sequel, or the two direct-to-videos, which was Little Mermaid 2, Return to the Sea, and Little Mermaid 3, Ariel's Beginning. So we were fans of that. And so many, 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 many conversations. We loved sharing that trivia back and forth between each other. Oh, did you know this production detail? Did you ever think about what this character's saying when this happened? And the gifts. Oh my gosh, the gifts, the gifts, the gifts, the gifts. So many gifts on Discord. I love having access to the gifts, but oh my gosh, there were so many gifts. It was getting to the point where it's like, we would take a GIF from TLM 89 and we would use that to express what we were feeling in the particular moment or whatever it is. It's like, oh, hey, did you notice this particular detail? So that was certainly a nice bonus. The person that I'm coming to care for is interested in something, is not necessarily interested in this kind of stuff, not that necessarily, but was actually a little more interested in that kind of stuff. Let's see, right there, it was more that kind of stuff that we were interested in. So I was really fortunate there in that regard. I was really pleased with that, and really I'd never had the chance to talk those kinds of details. It's like, I've known this movie for 34 years, 33 years, and just, wow, I never knew about that. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was oh, wait a minute, if that's the case, then A, B, C, and D. We reveled in being able to share that trivia, and we were able to talk that particular language really easily. So that was very heartening. But obviously, you can't carry a relationship on one movie. I suppose it's possible, whatever. But yeah, that was to me that was a happy bonus. That was a happy bonus. So I was really lucky there. Which, with a bit of a time skip here, was also really convenient for what would be coming up, because 2023 would end up being the year that Walt Disney Pictures released the live action, and I say live action because, my God, how much CGI is in that thing, live action adaptation of The Little Mermaid, which I've already made a video talking about that previously. Let's see, is that direction? Yeah, point that way. I made a video 11 months ago talking about my feelings about the movie. And coincidentally, my relationship with Julia popped up at just the right time, where I was in that streak of denial. With our relationship kicked off in first quarter of 2022, and at that point, like, okay, we're a whole year out, and I'm really not happy about the direction that it's going at that point. And I eventually told Julia, I was like, yeah, A, B, C, D, E, and F are the reasons why I'm not going to support this thing. And she's like, okay, all right. Well, she's looking forward to it. She understood why I was upset with it. And if anything, getting back on topic, our relationship allowed me to, perhaps somewhat selfishly, get back embedded into classic TLM content, whereas this trivia point and that photograph and that picture and oh yeah, this edit and this alternate take, and I was able to get into all those kinds of things with Julia while she was there, so it was very convenient. Obviously, jump ahead to 1 year ago. 1 year ago, as of recording, or almost 1 year ago as of recording. And I said it within that video that I linked, and also link in the description below. I had, in the month of May 2023, last year, I had a complete and total 180-degree reversal of opinion on the movie. I went from despising it to, oh my God, I need to see this thing. So that was a thing. That was absolutely a thing when I did a complete complete and total reversal of opinion. I went from hating it to, oh my God, I need to see this thing. And then I saw it and I'm like, yeah, that movie actually was really good. I'm glad I saw it. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent there about Taylor, but like it actually is important, not just to me, but it was also important to Julia, and it was important to our relationship. So, got to bring it up, okay? So, the big to do about live action TLM 23 came and went, and then on or around August, I think it was like mid August 2023, we hit our first real speed bump, our first real challenge of our relationship. I'm not going to say what it is, but I suffice it to say she pulled a stunt on me. Now it was only in DMs, obviously on Discord, but had a bit of a bite to it, and it actually had me in tears. I said, what, and again, I'm not going to say what it is. I'm not going to say what happened, but suffice it to say, I was like, Julia, after what you have just told me, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. We can continue to be friends if that's what you like, but the romantic thing, that's over. That's done. I can't. I cannot give you what you are asking me. What you are asking of me. I can't go there. I can't. It's not in me to uh, to offer what you are asking for. I can't do that. I can't do that. And so it was kind of quiet between the two of us for about a week or so. And then she came back and she said, "Oh yeah, by the way, Ava, it was a trick. I deliberately lied to you. I deliberately said something that was not truthful because I wanted to see what your reaction to be would be to it. I was testing you to see what you would do." That was. I'm still kind of in suspicion mode at that point because, like, when she said it to me, she said it with such conviction, and I had also had some suspicions for many, many months. At that point, we'd been in this relationship for a little over a year at that point. And so like I had questions and there were things that were not being answered. And when she said that in August of 2023, I was like, oh, so that's why A, B, C, and D, that's why all those things line up. So when she comes back a couple of days later and says, "Oh yeah, by the way, Ava, it was a trick. It was a test to see how you would respond." It was difficult for me to accept that because all those things, all those inconsistencies that she told me lined up so perfectly with what she had described to me that it was difficult for me to, okay, well, if what you lied about is not true, then what about these things over here? I know it was a test. It was a deliberate trick. It was a pressure test, no, it was a stress test to see how I would respond to it. But she never gave me the results. Still wondering about that. Hmm. So, anyways, I was a bit suspicious at that point, and ended up, after she admitted that it had been a trick, had been a test. There's about 3 weeks in there where we said absolutely nothing to each other. Um, then the group that we were in on Discord, one of a brand new member to the group suddenly popped up and sent me a DM, said, "Hey, let's talk." And how are you doing? And my name is such and such, and how are you doing with Julia? What's your opinion of Julia? I'm like, okay, first of all, who the hell are you? Two, my relationship with Julia is none of your goddamn business. And three, I don't trust you at all. Why the hell should I trust? Why the hell should I talk to you about anything? If you actually know who Julia is, you need to tell me. You need to tell me such and such and such. You need to prove to me you know who she is. He verified. He knew who Julia was. He said kind of the right things. Like, okay, all right, she knows who he knows who she is. Okay, fine, whatever. And so we had a 2 or 3 hour conversation that once the kind of trust was established. Okay, fine, you are who you claim to be. Um, he explained to me a number of details that I would otherwise have not been able to get. You have to keep in mind this was a long distance relationship that I was in with Julia. Long distance. We were never in proximity to each other. So like all my contact was always through, webcam or voice chat or texting, and that was it. That was as far as it went. So what this friend, this confidant, as it turns out, was providing me was information that I did not have access to. And it provided me a number of insights about what about things that she had been saying and the way she had been responding to stuff. It's like, oh, okay, that's why she does it. Oh, I didn't know that, or oh, I forgot about that. Okay, so this confidant, this friend, provided a lot of useful information, and then said it would be nice if I unblocked Julia. I, I, I didn't unblock. I didn't block her. She's. I've been waiting for her to respond to me for 3 weeks. What the crap? I didn't block her. I didn't cut her off. Not nothing. I've been waiting for her to respond for 3 weeks. What the hell? So he said he would pass the message along, and then I think it was like a day or so later, I got this message.
Good morning. It's been about a week. Hopefully you're doing okay. I know things have been a little awkward for the two of us. I do hope that you will eventually have time. Maybe we could talk again. Um, there are some things I do want to get off my chest, but I would rather say them in person.
And that was in early September, just a couple of weeks before my 41st birthday when I got that. So, um, so I said, okay, that's fine, whatever. And we had nice long voice chat about that, and we sorted things out, and kind of the things that had started breaking up between us, we were able to successfully mend those things back together. So we, after about a month of kind of crazy in the relationship, a kind of significant speed bump, if you wish, um, we got back together, and things proceeded on a little more normally. For me, I had to rebuild a little bit of that trust. I had to build that back a bit. So there was a little bit of hesitation on my part, but I sorted through it and got back to enjoying my time around with her. We didn't really break up. It's just like there was just kind of a big silence between us for like 3 weeks or whatever it is. There's a bit of distrust that was being sown in there. So whatever. But anyways, in October of 2023, Julia told me that she had been working double shifts and that she had been working from opening to closing at her then current job. And I said, "Wow, Julia, you don't like that job. You don't like working at that job. So what the heck are you doing?" And she told me that she was saving up money for a plane ticket to fly out and come see me. Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think it'd be great. I'm being very careful not to say that one word. I think it would be great. It would be fantastic to see him. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I get to show you. I get to show you all of this, which she already knew about. Um, well, I'll show you around. I'll show you around a couple of local a couple of locations in Puget Sound. Yeah, we'll have a great time, and I'll take you out to restaurants, and yeah, we'll have a great time. And she said, she was glad to hear that I was enthusiastic for it, and so we began the process of, okay, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? I got to think about this. The other thing I had to do is I had to tell my parents because up to that point I had been completely silent on the fact that I'd had at that point a girlfriend, for a long distance girlfriend, for like a year and a half at that point. I hadn't told anybody. So if I off disappear for a couple of days or whatever it is, driving her around, or you're like, Ava, where the heck are you going? What on earth, huh? So yeah, okay, it's time to tell the folks. It's time to start letting people in on the secret. And so that eventually happened the day after Thanksgiving 2023. I finally told my parents the day after. And my sister, doggone it, I actually had my parents and my sister, we were at my sister's place. And uh, when I finished telling the story of who Julia was and what I'd been doing for the last year and a half, she looked at me and she was like, huh, that's weird because I thought you were going to come out as homosexual. And my parents and I, we looked at her like, I'm just not homosexual. What are you talking about? And my sister was like, well, I mean, it kind of happens later in life. Where did she get that idea from? Whatever. So, anyways, that little weird triviality aside, I finally told my parents and I told my sister about it, and I started being a little discreet about who I told online about this. Is very, very select few, very trusted few that I told about this. Oh yeah, by the way, I've been in a romantic relationship for a year and a half, and I'm actually going to get to see her finally. Finally get to meet her in person. Yes. So I came home, the day after Thanksgiving, came home, and I told Julia, okay, the parents know about it. Here it's real. We're going to do this. She said that was wonderful, and so we began really planning in earnest. Okay, this and this and this and this and this, and what's the weather going to be like, and what should I wear, and da 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 da. And on December 1st, 2023, she told me, okay, I'm going to be home all day because I'm home from work all day. So, and I said, oh, that's great, that's wonderful. That means we'll be able to talk about scheduling all that stuff because we've only got 14 days left before you show up. And I never heard from Julia ever again. Julia disappeared on December 1st, 2023. Over the course of a 2-week period, I sent dozens of text messages. I sent more than a few audio recordings. Julia, where are you? Let's talk. What's happening? What's going on? I even sent a video message. Where are you? Please tell me, where are you? What's going on? What's happening over there? What went wrong? I was so frustrated. Just what the hell's going on? Just did I push too hard on something? Did I say the wrong thing? Did I miss a detail? Did I uh, had her husband found out that she was playing around with a toy boy online and said cut it off or I'm kicking you out of the relationship? I mean, what did she get into an accident? Did her mother or her sister, did something happen to one of them? Younger sister? Uh, what what happened? Please, Julia, get in contact with me. I mean, what's going on? So 2 weeks of silence, and this is actually worse than the kind of silence that we had gone through back in August of to that, just a couple of months earlier. But on Discord, you don't know when somebody's reading the messages or whatever it is. I was getting absolutely nothing. It was frustrating. It's like, Julia, I need to schedule things. I need to make reservations. Talk to me. You know what? Or you know what? If you can't make it on December 15th, then forget it. We'll just let's just talk, okay? Don't worry about flying out here, okay? We'll schedule for another time. We'll do another time, okay? I was so damn frustrated, just like. And so I sent her a message on December 14th, and I said, okay, I'm going to be grocery shopping, and I'm probably going to throw in a little bit of late Christmas shopping. It's clear you're not going to be. It's clear you're not flying in tomorrow. So just it's okay. You can stop hiding now. And I was angry at that point. I was like, the least you could do is tell me that you're not flying out. You don't have to cut me out. Just all you have to do is just explain it to me, Julia. That's all you had to do. I only had questions, no answers. And then on the day that she was scheduled to fly in, after I sent that last message saying you can stop hiding now, the very next morning, the morning that she was supposed to have flown in, and I was supposed to have picked her up at the airport, she deleted her Discord account. And she also deleted her DeviantArt account because she knew those are the only ways I could get through to her. It was over. From the height of, yes, absolutely, I want to be with you. I want to meet you. I cannot tell you how frustrating it was that I couldn't reach out through the screen and hold her. I can't I can't tell you how damn frustrating that was. That was just she's literally a continent away and I can't touch her. And now she's gone. No explanation. Nothing. I'm not exaggerating when I say that Christmas 2023 was the most somber Christmas that I've ever experienced. Now, there were a number of other factors that were at work that you guys don't know about that contributed to that, in addition to Julia cutting off contact entirely. But Christmas 2023 was the most somber. I was in a room full of in-laws on Christmas Day. There were 20, 23, 25 in-laws, adults and seniors and little kids, all running around, a bunch of wrapping paper all over the place. There was a lunch dinner buffet off to one side, and I was sitting in a corner on a stool, silent. I was just all there was just droning in front of me, and I was just blocking it out. I was just, I ate. I had a couple of Christmas presents were handed to me, but what could any of them understood? My very first romantic relationship ended in a ghosting, to use the modern internet parlance, ghosting. Whatever the hell happened, there's nothing I can do about it. And so I began the process of separating myself emotionally from Julia. This year and a half relationship that I'd very cautiously, very tenderly gotten into and was very enthusiastic to continue, ended in silence and harsh rejection. So I had all of December, the final month of 2023. She was gone, not coming back. And then I had all of January 2024. Nothing. She's not coming back. She knows exactly where I am. She knows how to reach out to me if she wants to. Nothing. Where did she go? I mean, I actually, I started typing out a letter from this computer. I started typing out a letter, and I was going to mail it to her. And as I was writing it out, I had that Elvis Presley song, Return to Sender, repeating through my head over and over and over and over and over. This time I'm gonna take it myself and put it right in her hand. And if it comes back the very next day, then I'll understand. Return to sender, address unknown, no such person, no such soul. We had a quarrel, a lover's spat. All right, I'm sorry, but my letter keeps coming back. Over and over and over and over and over. I had that phrase. I had that song going through my head as I was typing this thing up. But I had nowhere to send it to. So that was it. I have no idea what happened to my long distance girlfriend. I just to this day, as I'm recording this, just and then on February 10th, 2024, I got my answer. So at that point, I'd already spent 2 months separating myself from Julia, deliberately forgetting conversations, deliberately forgetting details, deliberately forgetting the sound of her voice, deliberately getting her out of my head. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, one day, that friend and confidant that I'd spoken with back in August of 2023, 6 months earlier, 6, 7 months earlier, he popped up all of a sudden. Well, initially, within like the first half hour of the conversation or whatever it is, it didn't occur to me who I was talking to. I thought it was a brand new person because they changed their name or they changed their Discord name, so I didn't know who it was. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're the guy that I talked to 7 months ago. You're Julia's friend. And he said, yeah. I'm like, oh my god, is she okay? Is she all right? Can you get me a phone number, an email, a physical mailing job, just anything? Where is she? What happened to her? She disappeared 2 months ago. What's going on? And he told me when I finally realized who she was or who he was. Excuse me. Uh, he said that he had been deliberately holding off talking about Julia, and I'm like, oh my god, she's dumped me, and she doesn't want to go anywhere near me. She doesn't want anything to do with me. What did I? Oh my god, how did I fuck this up? Really? And then eventually I pinned him down, and I said, I want to talk to her. Is she doing okay? Can you give me a phone number, an email address? Where is she? Is she doing okay? Did something wrong to her family? Did something happen to her? I mean, what's happening? And he told me that on January 5th, 2024, Julia had walked into her bathroom, laid down in her bathtub naked, and she had slit her own wrists. What, what, well, somebody found out. I mean, did I mishear that? I couldn't. And so, did she survive? No. I had no idea. I had no idea. Because I'd gone back and reread through the last week, 2 weeks or whatever it was of messages that we had sent back and forth to each other. There was there was no indication. There was nothing to indicate that she was suicidal. Nothing. She never hinted at it. I knew she hated her job. I know she had a real shitty childhood. I know that the early years of her adult life were not that great. She was a heavy girl all through grade school, and even in her young adult life, or the early years of her young life. And she had in 2022, she had she had subscribed to a gym, and she was regularly, several times a week, was going to the gym, and she worked that fat off so that by the time I met her, she was quite slim. She was the slimmest that she'd ever been in her life, except maybe when she was born. It had nothing to do with hormones. It had nothing to do with medications. It had nothing to do with genetics. No, she was just heavy. She was heavy. But by the time I met her, she had been working so hard to get rid of that fat. And so by the time I saw her, she looked great. She was just the right size. She was wonderful. The final days of 2023, I was house sitting at my sister's place so that she and her family could do a New Year's vacation for a couple of days. And so I spent 3 days doing this with a remote in front of a projection TV and surround sound. 3 days just watching Twitch videos and YouTube. And I saw what was it called? Lilo and Stitch. I'd never seen Lilo and Stitch before. I'd known about it for 23 years, but I'd never seen it before. So I finally had a reason to watch Lilo and Stitch. It's a very adorable movie. I also watched a couple of episodes, just a couple of episodes of uh, Little Mermaid cartoon series because what else am I going to do? I watched a couple of those, um, and I was bored out of my mind for 3 days. I was also thinking, what the hell happened to her? What went wrong? Where is she? What happened? So I was sitting there bored out of my mind for 3 days. Um, I wonder what Julia's doing. I hope she's okay. At the time that I was watching Twitch videos just mindlessly, she was contemplating killing herself. If I'd known ahead of time that that she was thinking those things, I would have been on an airplane the very next morning, And I would have been banging on her door by that evening, demanding to be let in. And to hell with any pre-Christmas traveler who dared to get in my way. If I had only known. So much for doing the short and focused version of this story. Sorry. So, as of right now, I carry four things with me as a direct result of the suicide of Julia Renzetti: regret, helplessness, tragedy, pain. Although I will admit, as time has passed in the last 3 months or so, almost 4 months at this point, the pain is beginning to fade. But still, all the things that the best wishes and the condolences that I would pass on to somebody else. Oh, I'm so sorry about your loss. There's nothing you could have done. Don't think it's not your fault, and they were not strong enough. And all those things have been said to me over the course of the last 4 months. I've heard those things. I've heard all of them, and quite frankly, I've responded every single time. Yeah, and that's exactly the same thing that I would be saying to you if you were in this position. But when you're actually in it, it's an entirely different matter. When she had finished telling me her story back in 2022 about her childhood and the embarrassments that she'd gone through, being insulted for being overweight, her her home life, just mm. When she had finished telling me that, I gave her as much empathy as I possibly could. And I told her at that point, and we were only a few months into our relationship, but after she told me all the horrible things that had happened to her, I told her that if we got together, I would do the very best that I could to show her a love that she never got from her own family. That is the closest that I ever got to saying, I love you, Julia. If we had gotten together on December 15th, 2023, and she had stayed for that whole 3 days that she had planned out, there is a very, very strong possibility that I would have said, I love you, Julia. There was no guarantee of it, but at that point, I was starting to believe it. And I specifically told her across that year and a half, I said, Julia, I'm not gonna string you along. I'm not gonna drag this out. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not even gonna little white lie to you. I will only say those three words to you if I mean it here and if I mean it here. I'm not gonna say it casually. I'm not gonna say, "Oh, I love that about you." Da 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 da. No, I was very, very careful to not say those three words. She died never hearing me say those words to her. But I lost track of how many times she said it to me. She said it so many times. Regret, helplessness, tragedy, pain. Those are the four things I carry with me about my first girlfriend. And you know what really sucks? I was told about this. a month after she was dead? Where do I send flowers? Where do I write in? Where's the obituary posted? What happened to her body? Where is she? What happened to the, well, I kind of know what happened to the belongings in her house because her friend told me, but what, where's her body? Was she buried? Was she cremated? Was, what happened to her? Did she leave a note? So many unanswered questions. Still tears me up inside. Anyways, uh, a couple of days after I was informed about Julia's suicide, the confidant again returned to me. Hey, Eva, how are you doing? And I said, and he said that he had actually been informed about her suicide the day that her body had been found. The police informed her because he was an emergency contact, and so that's how he found out about it. And he said that he had been allowed to take a number of things from her place before her house was sold and before her belongings were scattered or sold or trashed or whatever. He had a chance to gather a number of her things. And a few days after he told me about her death, he said, Ava, would you like to have some of those things? I said, yeah, yeah, yes, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, I do. I'll even pay you for it. He said, no, 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 it's free. And I said, I'm paying for shipping. All right, you can pay for shipping. A little over a week after I was told about her suicide, a box about this big showed up at my home. This video has been less about what I acquired, and it's been more about how and why I acquired it. Okay, that's over. That's done. That's finished. I don't have to go through that somber thing all over again. Just I can't tell you. I actually edited that first part earlier today for about like 4 hours or whatever it was before I started recording this. So I've already, gone over what I've said, what I've done, and I had to chop a lot of stuff out of what you just saw. I think the original one time was like an hour and 12 minutes. Like just the raw footage unedited was 112, and I chopped it down to just shy of 60 minutes. So yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said I chopped a lot of content, but I chopped like as much as I possibly could to maintain continuity. So if I could have chopped it down, if I could have cut another 5 or 6 minutes, or maybe even another 10 minutes, that would have been great. But as it is now, it's an hour long. But for those of you who thought that this was a really long video, it's about to get even longer because the more I think about it, the more I realized ordinarily for something like this, I would take a really long video that's like over an hour and I'd break it down into multiple parts, whatever. In this particular case, I think it's better if I just let it run the whole length. So, whatever, it's just going to be one big video as opposed to a couple of small ones I'll build together. That way I can maintain your attention and I can just get this thing over with and done. So, how about we get into some more lighthearted stuff? So the box that I received from Julia's confidant and friend, I was aware of only two of the things that were in that box, but he specifically stated, no, there's going to be more than a few things in there. And I had no idea what was in there. Now, I want to make clear right off the bat that Everything you see here, I was aware of some of these things before I got them, but I wasn't aware of all of them. But even if I was aware of them, when it comes to all of these items, I had no intention of getting any of them, even though I knew they existed, and even though I was like, "Oh, that's actually kind of interesting. I might hang on to that." I had no plans to get any of these. In fact, if Julia's friend had not sent these to me, I wouldn't have them right now. I would not have gone out of my way to get these. But the reason why I have them is because they belong to Julia. This is this is my inheritance, and it's now my obligation to honor it and to treasure it as she once did. So the first things I'm going to be revealing is the two items that I already knew were in the box when Julia's friend shipped them to me. All the other things that you'll be seeing from me were complete surprise. I had no idea that they were there. And in fact, Julia had pictures. She sent me pictures, and coincidentally, they were in the background at the time. So yeah, I knew that they existed, but I would never have gotten them for myself. So first up is, what can I call you? Um, is Ariel in her pink ballroom gown from Bandai Presto's Q Posket line. I have no idea what Q Posket mean. I have no idea. But anyways, and you will notice that her left hand is missing. Her left hand is actually sitting on the shelf over there right now. I need to glue that in place. It broke during shipping, so whatever. Hey, at least I've got the hand. But anyways, you know what? It's time for me to play around with the manual focusing ability. Let's see. There we go. Look at this. Yeah! Couldn't do that with the previous camera, which, by the way, was also a Logitech. Anyways, okay. So, she is in her pink ballroom gown that we saw in the movie. And then also, got the other side there. Ooh, sorry, wrong way. She's got little shoes in there. But oddly, there are holes right. Oops, which way? The camera view is backwards on my side. Sorry. But oddly enough, um, I don't think that this came with a display stand. So I'll probably have to go to Band Presto and buy a display stand of some kind in order to plug that in there. But she rests well enough on a flat surface. It's like, I'm not worried about it. Um, Now, when this came to me, you probably notice, oh, yeah, it's a bobblehead. Well, actually, no, it's not a bobblehead because this is the way it's shipped from when it's in the box. Now, when I got this, Julia threw away the box, So I don't have the box. I got this secondhand. I got it as is. Of course, I got it secondhand. I got this without the box. So presumably, um, you want to attach this. So, yeah, that's Ariel in her pink ballroom gown. And I know the lighting is not the best in here. I apologize for that. There's not a lot I could do about color correcting. But I do want to point out that, yeah, there actually are distinctively different colors at work here. There is a kind of a pearlescent pink, and then the front of her dress and the shell, the shell that sits right here in her earrings, those are all white. Okay. So yeah, there's that. You never quite figure out which direction she's looking. Whatever. So yeah, yeah, I'm sorry. There actually are two different colors. She does have white and then pink. So this does fairly accurately match the dress that she had in the movie. And then the other item that I've got is also from Ban Presto's Q Posket lineup, and it is Ariel, big surprise, in her wedding dress. And I will point out that the veil, I don't know how well it shows up here, but the veil is actually semi-transparent. I'll get to that in a moment. This also came with the head detached, but fortunately, this one actually sits much cleaner on here. It actually sits with friction, so yeah, I don't have to worry about that. Now, unlike the pink ballroom version, this one's kind of weird in that, well, you can actually upskirt Ariel in this thing. Like, I don't know why, but there it is. You know, so yeah. I will notice the difference, though, between the wedding dress version and the ballroom gown version is that one of them, this one is designed very clearly to fit onto a display stand. This one, however, is not. I'm not entirely certain why that's the case, but it is. So, whatever. Now, I've never laid hands on any of the Q Posket line before. I don't have any. These are my very first ones, okay? But there are a couple of oddities that I'd like to point out, and I just realized that I've disabled the autofocus, so I gotta keep that in mind. I have to get used to this brand new camera when I'm using it. So yes, I'm going to be a little out of focus for a bit. There's a couple of oddities at work in both of these figures. It's not just that this one hand broke off or that the head on this one doesn't fit properly. That's not it. There's some other things, and the friend pointed something out to me about these. If I understood the friend correctly, both of these two figures right here are not production models. These, let me say again, these are not production models. These are, as far as I'm aware, these are non-sellable prototypes from the factory, or rather from the offices of Banpresto. These are prototypes, which means these never came in a box, ever. These never came in a box. And I'm inclined to believe it. There's a couple of things at work here that, while I don't collect figures, while I don't collect figurines or statuettes or whatever these are, I don't even know what to call them. While I don't collect these, and certainly I don't collect dolls, there are certain consistencies that you will find across collector grade figures, and these are not intended for children. Very clearly, these are not intended for children. But I will point out. Actually, let me put myself back in focus. There we go. But there are some consistencies that you will find between, like, regardless. Now, I do have many, many, many Japanese toys. Okay, many, and I've been collecting for 31 years. Okay, a little over, almost 31 years. But there are certain consistencies that you'll find. I have across the decades, especially when I was volunteering for CollectionDX.com. I actually did get my hands on a couple of, maybe not TLM, but definitely static pose figurines or statuettes or whatever you want to call them. And it is my memory of those things, and then I look at these and I'm like, something's off, something's missing. So let's see. Okay. So the first thing that I noticed about both of these figures is that neither one of these figures has any trademark or copyright information anywhere on them. There's no model number. There's no manufactured in Taiwan or China or Japan or what year they were manufactured. I don't even know what year these were made. I haven't bothered looking them up. There's no manufacturing information. There's no, like, even on, like, on the inner side of her dress. There's no print. That's the thing. It's like it's not tampoed. It's not printed on. It's not molded on. There is no uh, there's no copyright information on either one of these figures. Now, ideally, for something like this, the place you would want to put copyright information would either be on the back of the dresses, where nobody's going to see it, or most likely you would put it on the bottom of the dresses, or the bottom of the figures. But neither one of them has that information. Even if they were tamped on, if they were stamped or tampoed on, tampo, that's what that means, right? You'd think I'd know after all these decades what that is. Neither one of these figures has copyright information on them. Unless they came with a display stand, which I currently do not have. Like Julia had them, but the friend was not able to get them to me. Unless the copyright information is on those display stands, which are removable, by the way, I'll point out. I'm inclined to believe that, yeah, maybe these actually are pre-production test models. I'm starting to believe that more and more. But even if they had been production models, it would have been strange to have the copyright information on the display stand, but not the actual figure itself. Now that part I don't get, because it's like if you lose the display stand, where's the copyright information? And her head is seriously, her head is actually heavier than the rest of her body, ironically. But anyways, yeah, there's no copyright information on either one of these things. Very, very unusual. Whether it's made for kids or collectors, whatever, there should be copyright information somewhere, and there's just not. Very, very unusual. So that's the first thing I noticed. Now, the second thing that I noticed, this might be my personal lack of experience, just lack of exposure, lack of never having handled one of these before. So I could be wrong about this one. I'm going to disclaim that right now. I could be wrong about this next one. But the plastic of the of this part of the dress here, this outermost layer of the dress, is very, very thin, like questionably thin, like wafer thin, like there actually is a little bit of flex to it, but it's so thin that I wonder if like maybe this was like a test to see how thick, or rather how thin, they could get away with making the plastic. And really the edge of this is quite sharp. Like legit, if you were to run your finger across it, like, yeah, that's going to be a problem. It's not as bad or as pronounced on the wedding dress version. It's still funny. You can just see her legs under there. It's not as prominent here, although I think this is called a tiara. It's not a crown, but the tiara, I think that's what it's called. I don't know. I don't know dress designs. I'm a guy. I don't know. I'll just go with tiara. The tiara is very thin, much like this outer layer of the skirt. The tiara is quite thin. The thickness of the plastic quite thin, and it's quite a sharp edge across the top here. That does concern me. So that is also something else to be worried about. Now, there's a I find this an interesting contrast here. As amusing as it is to actually see her legs underneath her, as strange as that sounds, the thing that bothers me about the wedding version specifically, about this one specifically, is that, well, they did put her legs under there. Now she doesn't do this pose in the movie. She doesn't do that. Reach one side of the skirt, whatever. Sure, she doesn't do that. But that being said, this is very hollow underneath here, and that's what I'm wondering about. It's like, yeah, making it hollow saves a lot of money on plastic, but then if that were the case, almost, if that were the case, why is this solid? Why is this covered up on the underside? You know. Now they took the time. They took the time to put her shoes are right there. Actually, there's one of her shoes right over my finger. Excuse me. There's one right there. But this is well, it's enclosed. That's the word I'm thinking of. This is enclosed, and then the interior of this is actually quite hollow. I mean, you can feel the weight of it, regardless of what the material is. It's still very lightweight. Her hair, for example, that's solid plastic. This is also reasonably solid. But with the wedding dress, it's just kind of strange. It's hollow under there, or it's exposed under. Very very unusual. So never thought I'd see the day where I'm upskirting the Little Mermaid. Hmm. And by the way, these are not designed to be posable, neither one of these. But again, it's because of how how these were shipped in the box, presumably. Also, this is very lightweight compared to the pink dress. And I'll say it again, unlike the pink ballroom gown, wedding dress version actually does her head actually does fit down nicely onto her neck. So you can tell right there is an inconsistency. If these were production models, I'd be sounding all kinds of alarms like, wow, the head on this should be fitting a lot better than it is. The fact that it could pop off so easily, why did I do that? The fact that her head could pop off so easily, yeah, that's a worrying thing. So it's probably, oops, sorry. So it's probably a feature of, God, it's probably a feature of like, yeah, we need to, make the hole in the bottom of her head. We need to make the hole a little larger, or we need to make the peg a little smaller, or actually the peg needs to be a little bigger. So, but whatever. So that's the second thing that makes me think that these are not production models. And then the third thing that makes me think these are prototypes or test models or something like that they're not production models is something that I don't think I'll be able to show on camera. I don't think this camera is sensitive enough or accurate enough to be able to show it. But if I look at the texture of her tiara or her crown or whatever it is, there's it the what's this called? Is this called the train? I don't remember what this part is called, but this part is very clearly the same part that the tiara is, but the tiara or the crown or whatever it is has been painted gold. Okay, that's not it. What I want to draw your attention to, and again, it probably won't be able to show it even on my brand new HD camera, is that there's a texture to the crown, to the tiara. I'm going to say tiara. There's a texture to the tiara that's actually quite familiar. It's layered like a cake. Where have we seen that before? Well, we've seen that before in 3D printing. If this were a production model, or correction, a mass production model, then it would be molded in a single piece and it'd be nice and smooth because that's how the steel molds are made. It has to be nice and smooth, and then any imperfections can be worked out accordingly. But this case, the crown has a lot of, and it's very subtle. The texture is like there's scuff marks and there's layers all the way down it. And that just makes me wonder, so either this part of the figurine is either deliberately designed to be 3D printed in mass production, or this thing is a prototype. It's a test figurine. I'm inclined to believe that. Any one of these things by themselves, by the way, this doesn't stand very well. I think wedding dress Ariel needs a display stand. Each of these things by themselves wouldn't be a problem. If it was just one figurine that had just one problem or just one issue, I wouldn't give it a second thought. But it's the fact that they both have it in equal, and they both have um, uh, this kind of sort of the same issues. That's what I'm wondering about. Now, that the wedding dress is hollow, that's probably just whatever. They're not That's going to fall over so easily. That's probably, I probably shouldn't make as much of an issue about that. But lacking copyright information, and then the possibility that these have been 3D printed. Oh yeah, the 3D printing. Um, I mentioned earlier how this outermost layer of her skirt seems really thin. It seems really thin as if it were 3D printed. Now I'm looking at the underside, like I'm not looking here, but rather I'm looking, it's got to go this way. I'm looking under here. I'm looking in here, and I can see there are kind of, it's uneven. It's a rough texture, and you can see there's some places where it's not been um, finished or whatever it is. Now, maybe Banpresto was not expecting you to look under there, which is a possibility. It's like as long as it looks good from the outer side, they're not really concerned about what's happening on the inner side. Maybe that's the case. Maybe, but I'm not entirely certain about that. But anyways, this outermost layer of her dress, the pink pearlescent version, uh, it's not just that it's thin, but it also has that really subtle layered appearance to it, just real subtle. And again, the camera's not going to pick up on it, even if I get really close. The other thing I will point out is that for this figure specifically, not the wedding dress version, but for this version specifically, there's cracks, very thin, like it's on the verge of breaking, but it hasn't quite happened yet. If this material is as thin as I suspect it is, then those cracks are a result of the plastic being too thin. And then the final production model would be, okay, we need to make this thicker, or would they need to make it of a different material? I don't know. There's a fourth thing that I want to point out is, and I noticed this instantly as soon as I got both of these figures in my hands. I can't see what I'm doing. The other thing I've noticed is these kind of hash mark lines under her eyes. They're under here. It's not the blush. It's the under the eye. It's right here. Okay, and it's not just on the ballroom version of Ariel. It is also here. See the lines again, directly under her eyes. There are those lines again. Those are not eyelashes because she already has those. She already has eyelashes there. But I'm wondering what that blush is, or whatever it is. And it's not the eyelid. That's not. It's under the eyelid. It's this right here. It's these little hash marks, just right there. Okay. Considering the quality of considering the quality of the rest of this figure, and this also applies to the ballroom version, I'm wondering if those little hash marks are temporary. It's so that, oh yeah, it's a temporary thing, so that while the company is looking at, okay, this detail or that detail or wherever it is, these little marks here are a stand-in because the final production model will have a better version of that later on. It will not appear as hash marks. Instead, it'll be a solid line, and it's actually quite dark. They very much give Ariel a kind of, oops, sorry, kind of dark circles under her eyes. She looks tired. She looks old. She's a teenager right here, okay? And she's got these little marks underneath her eyes. Something something feels off. Now, and I'll show you, they're also present here. See these little hash marks under her eye again. So that is something I noticed with both these things, and it's on both of them. More than likely, these were released at exactly the same time from Band Presto. I don't know. I don't know when these were released. But then, here's the interesting part. If you look at the official production photos, or at least the studio photos where they show that are on the box, guess what's not there? Those hash marks are not there on the final production models. Look at these pictures. The hash marks are not there. The hash marks are not present. It's very strange. So I know I spent a lot of time on these, but these are unusual enough that, like, yeah, I need to bring these issues up. I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think that I don't know how, but I think Julia got her hands on a pair of pre-production figurines from Band Presto. However these got out of the company, I don't know. I don't know that part. I mean, prototypes getting out is known to happen. I saw that happening back in the 2000 aughts with Transformers Animated. I saw prototypes, non-production, not for sale versions coming out, and so that's what makes me think that these two might not be production models. They might instead be prototypes or test models of some kind. So interesting. I would never have gotten these for myself, but considering these are potentially pre-production models, okay, all right, yeah, that's kind of worth hanging on to. And since I wasn't planning on getting official ones anyways, it's not going to bother me to get these or to hang on to these. So, yay. Now, as I told you a little bit ago, those two Q Posket figures, I knew about those going in. So everything past this point, I had no idea that they were going to be included in the box. I had no idea. Okay, so this was complete total surprise when I got my hands on them. Okay, so the first thing that I pulled out after I was done looking at those two figures is I saw this. Let's get this out of here. I've been told that I think she did get this in December. I think she picked this up in either December or November or something like that. Now, under normal circumstances, like, yeah, okay, it's just a mug. Okay, whatever. That's fine. Let's see. Yeah, 2023. There you go. There's your copyright information. A little too blurry. There you go, right there. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't give this a second thought. But it's this line on the back. That got my attention. Now, obviously, that's a quote that Ariel says in the movie. She says it to Flounder the first time that we meet both characters. That's a little good, but A, the friend remembers that Julia got this in late November. And B, well, I do have a tendency to be a bit of a grouch. Well, maybe not a grouch, but I do tend to be, I'll say, cynical. I'm wondering if maybe this was intended. I'm wondering if this, and this is going to sound strange, but I'm wondering if this was going to be, might have been my Christmas present. I don't know. I have no way of knowing. I mean, Julia never brought it up. She never. I didn't even know that this existed, and I didn't know that she had it. But like the timing of it, and this line on the back here, you know, it makes me wonder: was she going to bring this on the plane with her? I don't know. And I have no way of finding out one way or the other. It might be safe for me to say that this is going to be my Christmas present in 2023. I don't know, but I think uh, I think it'd be okay for me to think of it that way. And the reason I'm keeping that in there is because I decided, just after I got this, is like, you know what? I'm not going to use this. This is one of those things like this is a keepsake. This is something I'm going to be putting on the shelf. So this is I'm not going to use this. This will be this will be on display with everything else. So um, thanks for the Christmas present, Julia. I love it. Oh, that was great. That's fantastic. So this next one, is going to be unlike what you've seen here. This next one is going to be very obvious that it's very out of character for me. I've said that like one or two other times before. I was like, when I get this thing, it's like, oh, this is not something that I would ordinarily get. This is very much something that I would never have gotten for myself. But I do remember Julia mentioned this almost every single day for like a month straight. So I think she started talking about this in October, and she finally acquired one in November before Thanksgiving. I know it's part of a specific line. I just don't know what the line is called. I think it's the Disney 100 Years uh, Special Edition Ariel. This is a limited edition, as I understand it. It was not, well, I don't know. I think it's limited edition, but it was not, I don't think it was like widely available in stores all over the place. I don't know. But Julia was beating her brains in because she was trying to get one from her local Target. And I'm like, Julia, you do know they're available online? And she's like, I know, but I want to get it in person. And I said, Julia, I will buy one of these for you and have it shipped to you just so you can get it. And she said, nope, 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 nope. She wanted to get it herself. She was regularly monitoring her Target. So like, okay, whatever. And then eventually she got this. She got this one specifically. This is originally hers. When I inherited it in the box, the bow was actually taken off, so I had to very carefully take a few minutes and tie it back on there. So whatever. But anyways, this is part of the Disney 100 celebration because 2023 was the 100th anniversary of the foundation of the Walt Disney Company. And so this special edition figure, and I think, and obviously, I think there were a couple of others made, although I don't know which ones. They probably made a Belle, they probably made a Tiana, a Snow White, and they probably made a whole bunch of them. I don't know. Okay, the only one I was aware of was this one, and quite frankly, I haven't gone looking for any of the others because, again, I don't collect dolls. I don't collect these. So one thing at a time. So I know nothing about 12-inch dolls. Like this is just I have no idea. So just gonna have to do that reviewers thing that I've done in the past. So articulation is as follows. The arms can go out to the side and they can go forward. And wait, doesn't she have an elbow? I thought she had an elbow. She does have an elbow. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I remember. Okay. So yeah, there we go. Okay, so I can turn it inwards. It's got a swivel, and then it can bend. She's always going to have her palm up when her arm moves. So you can see the articulation there, and then oops, then her shoulder can go forward. Just trust me, her shoulder can go forward. And then she also has a neck swivel. Wait, just go up. Correction, her neck is on a ball joint. Neck is on a ball joint. And then she also, I think she has a waist swivel. Let me see. No, she does not have a waist swivel. That is not there. And then she has, careful, careful. And then she also has and then she's got hips and knees, but no ankles. So, yeah. So this is fairly well articulated figure. I think it's fairly safe to say kind of standard issue, whatever it is. Now, I'm told that this was actually very overpriced figure, or I'm sorry, doll. I'm so used to saying figure. This is a very overpriced doll. This originally sold for, I believe, $70 at the time, in late 2023. So I I don't know. Don't ask me. I do not know if $70 is overpriced. I mean, clearly you're paying for the materials that they used on it. You're also paying for the bow, and you're paying for the different. I'm sorry. Let's see. Manual focus. I summon the. You see a little more of that texture. Clearly, you're paying for the materials of the dress. The other thing you're paying for is the sculpting of her shoes, which at the time I thought that those were. Oh, what did I think they were? I think they were anchors. It was kind of difficult to tell with the production photos or whatever it is, but it turns out her shoes actually have anchor chains on them, or ropes. I think is the case may be. That is what is on her shoes, and they're molded in. So. But yeah, whatever. Okay, all right, fine. Yeah. I'm no fashionista, so I don't even. By the way, one of these shoes, I don't remember which one, but these shoes love to come off. They just pop off every chance they get. So she's set on here pretty good. I'm tempted to put a little bit of enamel on the inside of the shoe so that it'll stay in place when you take her off the stand here. And speaking of the stand, about a month after I got the doll, and it was just the doll. Okay, it didn't even come in the box or the packaging, anything. A month after I got the doll, she was actually sitting. She was actually laying on her back on the shelf right there, on the brand new TLM shelf, as it were. Let's see. I'm gonna point at the shelf right there. There's the shelf right there. She was actually laying on her back, and I noticed that she was already starting to collect dust. And I'm like, you know what? This can't stand. I don't like the idea of this inheritance collecting dust. Certainly, I can let my robots and stuff like that will collect dust and whatever, but you can kind of brush it off easily enough. But if dust gets into hair, or if it gets into the cloth, presumably this would be more difficult to clean. So, furthermore, because I inherited this from my girlfriend, um, I decided that it would have a little more. It would have a little more sentimental value. It has a little more important to its importance to it for me personally, and that maybe I should, instead of just leaning it up against a corner in a dark corner or something like that, maybe I should allow it to shine a little more. And so what I did, quite independently, while I inherited the doll, what I did is I purchased the display stand. Let's see, get this. I purchased the display stand, which is made of metal, and I think there's rubber, or it's a silicone coating around the hook. And then this is polished wood. Let's see, is there anything on here? Yes, there is. Oops. There you go. There's the manufacturer for you right there. And then you've got these are these felt? Yeah, I think these are felt. Actually, it's kind of a spongy. I don't know what it is. But anyways, I decided to get this display stand to keep her upright, and so that she could. I could get her into a couple of different poses or whatever it is. Actually, this is kind of the only pose that she's been in the entire time, so whatever. But this display stand actually comes in two different versions. You can either get it with a plastic base to it, or you can get one with the polished wood, which is significantly more expensive. And I decided, well, the hell with this. This is an anniversary figure, and it also belonged to my now dead girlfriend. I want this to look good on the shelf, and you can see it's wrapped around her waist here. It's wrapped around her waist, like so. But that doesn't answer my original question. This will just keep it upright. But what about the dust? That is still an issue. So at exactly the same time, from exactly the same store, I picked up a 12-inch doll display case. And it's made of enamel. It's a clear, or no, what's it? It's a clear acrylic. Actually, hold on a moment. Actually, you know what? Screw it. I'll just show you what it is. So here's the. I think this is a base of 9 inches, and then it stands 14 inches tall. And so this. Oh, there's me in the reflection. Hi, how you doing? So this is what I got. And again, this is acrylic on the top, and it's held in place only by gravity, but it does fit into this groove on the display stand, which again is made out of polished wood. I don't think that this is. Oh man, it might be particle board. I'm not sure. I know it's weighty enough. I don't think that. I think this is actual, wood that was cut and then put together or whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, again, there was a plastic version of this that I could have gone for, but ultimately I decided to go for the wooden version. Now, these are not sold in a pair. I just so happened to buy them together. And then currently, just because this thing is so freaking huge, I actually thought that accidentally gotten the wrong kind of display case. I thought I'd gotten one that was too big. Certainly, it's too wide. I mean, look how freaking wide this thing is. It's like it was unnecessary. But unfortunately, like for a 12-inch doll, I couldn't get one that had a narrower base. So like, this is the best I got to deal with. But then it occurred to me, the manufacturers of the display case doesn't know how wide those skirts are going to be, or if you're going to be posing them with the arms out or whatever it is. Like, okay, all right, that's why. That's why they have it. That's why they have the base so wide. So okay, whatever, I can live with it. So, anyways, I think Julia paid $70 for the doll, and I ended up paying. I think it was like $130 or $140 or something like that. So I ended up spending way more just for the display than I actually would have for the doll itself. But I think it turned out. I think it turned out fairly well, all things considered. Certainly nice um, attention getter. It's a nice conversation starter. I'll put it that way. Now, kind of the weird thing about this scenario. Oh my gosh, I'm going to need to get a brush. Oh well. Kind of the weird thing about this scenario, aside from the fact that how I acquired this thing and when I got it and what the specific doll is, as strange as this is going to sound for a hetero guy to say this, I actually have wanted for a very, very long time to get a 12-inch doll of Ariel, but it had to be kind of a specific one. I wanted it to be a mermaid. I wanted her to be a mermaid, and I wanted the tail to be posable. What I did not want, though, is I did not want a tail that is removable. That's kind of the tricky thing about this. It's like, oh, she always has legs, so whatever. But like for I'll even say decades, I've wanted to get a 12-inch mermaid Ariel. But all the offerings that are out there, just the problem is like they either have like artistic license. I mean, even this is artistic license. The color of the sleeves here, the hem of the dress, the color of the bow, the color of her hair, like all of it's kind of like it's not perfectly screen accurate. Even the ruffles, the way that this works up here across her collar, even that's different. Like this is not something that I would have gotten. And there have been many occasions where I've seen, special collector edition mermaid Ariel or something like that. And I'm like, I just want her to be screen accurate and I want the tail to be posable. Is that such a difficult thing? You know? Ideally, I mean the kinds of posability that this has, actually I'm not gonna move the legs because that one shoe loves to come off. The kind of posability that I'm looking for is the kind of posability that probably isn't going to appeal to a lot of kids. It would actually be a little more of a collector grade. The other thing that I want is to have replaceable faces, like to have just 3 or 4 different expressions or whatever it is, and that way I can get her into whatever kind of pose that I want her to be, and she'll just look like she does in the movie. I mean, is that such a difficult thing to do? Apparently it is, because 34 and a half years later, I still don't have one of these things. So, eh. But yeah, technically, I've always wanted a 12-inch Ariel doll, just not this specific one. But I can't argue with the results. So, what a really bizarre scenario that now I have a 12-inch Ariel doll. Like, huh? But if Julia treasured it, then so will I. Right, time to move into some slightly more familiar territory. How about some Funko Pops? In this case, we've got Ariel in her, I think it's her seafoam dress, which you only see the one time at the end of the movie as she rises out of the water after being transformed by her daddy, into a human once again. And I'll say it again, I had no intention of getting this. I mean, I was aware of it, but I don't want it, so whatever. By the way, oh yeah, here it is. You remember I was mentioning earlier with the Q Posket Ban Prosto figures? I mentioned that there should be copyright information somewhere on the figure. Well, here's a perfect example of it. Certainly not the only example, but here's an example of it. The copyright information for this particular figure is actually above her collars, like under her head, in front of her neck. I don't know how well that's gonna. I wish I could reverse the direction the camera's pointing. You can actually see there's a white printed number right there, but then there's additionally some other copyright information in there as well. It's like if I were to pop her head off of her body, which can I do that? No, I cannot. Can I turn her head? No, I cannot. Um, this has copyrighted information on it, but strangely enough, those Q Posket figures do not have that. So I just wanted to point that out. It's like, yeah, now here's an actual production model, different company, different line, blah blah blah, but still, it does have copyrighted information on it. So I just wanted to point that out. Anyways, yeah, I've got Ariel in her seafoam dress because why not? So yay. So earlier in the video, I was talking about not just that Julie and I had a mutual love, I'll say, for Disney's TLM, but I was also pointing out how the time period in which my relationship with Julia occurred was kind of perfectly situated in order to prepare for and then deal with the fallout of live action TLM 23, or just TLM 23. Why did I screw up on that? I must be getting tired. I must be getting hungry. Whatever. You probably might have noticed that when I was describing, oh yeah, I didn't like the direction that TLN 23 was going before I saw it. You may or may not have noticed I was actually fumbling with my words earlier in the video because I was trying to deliberately avoid talking about this particular subject. How successful was I, by the way? Leave a comment, please. Let me know. But anyways, what I wanted to dance around was the issue of how I came to change my mind about TLM 23. Now, I've already made a separate video 11 months ago, hell, almost 1 year ago, about how how it started out as uh, you know Big Daddy Iger, why are you making live action Little Mermaid? You don't need to do it. And then I found out that Rob Marshall was going to be director, and I was very enthusiastic for it. Yes, that's a great choice. And then I found out, oh, okay, this is who they've cast to play Ariel. This is who they've cast to play Ursula. This is who they've cast to play Scuttle, and on and on down the line. I'm just like, oh my god. Well, there goes that idea. I was fully prepared to deny that this movie even exists. I've already made a whole video about that. But within that video, I pointed out that a friend had been reading excerpts from the official novelization of the movie. Well, almost 1 year later, I can now do a follow up to that video. Because you see, It was Julia who changed my mind about TLM-23. And she did it reading this book to me, reading excerpts from this book right here. This is not a copy that I purchased. No, this is Julia's copy. This right here is literally the copy of the book that changed my mind about TLM-23 1 year ago. 1 year ago, this book changed my life. Well, changed my mind. I thought no, actually, I think it's safe to say that it changed my life because, like, I was fully prepared to deny that TLM-23 even existed, just let it, just forget about it, and then laugh at the terrible box office results. When I recorded that video back in June of 2023, at that point, the box office results were already making it clear that it was never going to make its bank back. They were going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars on that movie. It was effectively a flop before its time in the theaters even run out. There's a certain pattern to the way these things work. I'm getting off topic. I was fully prepared to deny that TLM-23 even existed, and I was fully prepared to laugh at the box office results and fully prepared to laugh at the critics who was like, oh, it's the greatest movie of 2023, and oh, if you don't like it, then you're a this or that, or you're a that and a this, or you're not a true Little Mermaid fan if you don't support this movie. It's certainly happened before in plenty of other arenas across Hollywood in the last 4 years. I'm not going to get into the details here, but suffice it to say, I was fully prepared. I had spent 2 years preparing for that war against anybody who liked this movie and tried to say that, oh, the original one is so outdated. The original one is so uh, is so from another time, and it has what's that key phrase that they love to use? Uh, uh, Problematic. That's the word I was looking for. Problematic. TLM-89 is problematic, and TLM-23 is intended to replace it. While as of this recording, that hasn't happened yet, I have no doubt that it's going to be happening. But in any event, I was I was convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that that film was going to crash and burn, and it was all because of this reason or that reason. Again, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty details right now. Maybe I will in a future video. I haven't entirely decided yet. Julia knew my reasoning behind it. While she was not fandom menace like me. I am definitely fandom menace, but she was not. She definitely understood my concerns about live action Little Mermaid. Um, and then she got this book. This book was released on May 1st, 2023, and Julia had it days later. She read this thing dozens of times before the movie came out. She read it 2, 3 dozen times, however many times it was before May 26th, 2023. It was actually quite impressive how many times she read it. But on the other hand, the oh, hey, I just turned right to the part where King Triton's destroying the grotto. I just randomly, but you can see the size of the print. Oops, other way. You can see the size of the print that's happening right there. So I mean, yeah, it's a fairly easy read, and it is how many pages? It is. Oh, there's an epilogue here. Oh no, that's what the epilogue is. 252 pages, and then they also include. Nope, wrong way. And then they also include some color pictures from the movie. Oddly enough, they only have pictures. I actually glanced at it. I haven't read this yet. I mean, even though I've had this for 3.5, 4 months at this point. Oddly, all the pictures here, there's only one picture I can find with Ariel as a mermaid, and that's just the very first one right here. That's the only time she appears as a mermaid in this whole thing here, which is fairly strange. But anyways, getting back on topic, uh, Julia knew about my reservations. She knew about my paranoia. I'll say it. She knew about my contempt for what the Walt Disney Corporation has turned into in the last 4.5 years, or 3.5 years at this point. She knew I was not happy. She started talking about all of the changes that have been done. Not just the perhaps the biggest controversy, by far the most overshadowing problem of TLM 23, which again I'm not going to get into nitty gritty, but the most overshadowing problem was they blackwashed Ariel. That was the biggest problem, easily the biggest problem in the whole movie. And that was one of the reasons why I was fully prepared to mock and ridicule and condemn and dismiss this movie, is because they blackwashed a character who had been a pale redhead for, at that point, 34 years. I was fully prepared to fight for the honor, dignity, and respect of the original movie and all the other content that was based off of it. It was Julia reading excerpts from this book that changed my mind. When I said it took 3 weeks, the reason for the 3 weeks is because I didn't want spoilers about the changes to the movie, or the changes between TLM 23 and TLM 89. Like, I wasn't interested in those changes. I was more like, how close is it to the original? I mean, it's still going to follow the same basic story, but like, does Ariel behave like Ariel? Does Scuttle behave like Scuttle? Do Triton and Ursula, do they behave the way that they're supposed to? It was more those things. Julia didn't read like whole pages or whatever it is, but it was more like she was giving me summaries of, like, I would ask a very specific question, and then I get a very specific answer out of it. But I was attempting to maintain spoilers. It took me 3 weeks of just that doesn't make sense. That doesn't fit the pattern. They're not this book. And I said it in that previous video 11 months ago. I said this book and the movie that it's based off of is too smart. It's too respectful and honorable of the original 89 movie. That's the thing that puzzled me so much. And it still puzzles me to this day, even as I'm recording this right now. How without getting into super detailed, how this movie was so close to the 89 movie, and yet the changes enacted continued to honor and respect the source material. To this day, that is still a tremendous mystery to me. I have no idea how that happened. But my mind was changed. Like I said, I was dead set against this movie until my girlfriend started reading from this book that I now have in my hands. If it hadn't been for Julia Renzetti and her enthusiasm for this movie, and indeed for this book, I would be in a very, very different place right now. I would, what I have enjoyed of TLM 23 is equally matched by what I have suffered from TLM 23. I can only imagine that my suffering would have been less if I had not listened to my girlfriend, taken a risk, and watched that movie in the theater in early June 2023. My suffering probably would have been less than it is right now in specific regards to TLM 23. So, yeah, Absolutely, I'm going to hang on to this one. This is important. This is an important one. Of all the items, not the 12-inch doll, not the Q Poskets, not the other ones that I haven't mentioned yet. I've got some other stuff I have to mention. Of all the things that Julia's friend and confidant could have given me, I am so grateful. I cannot tell you how grateful I am that I got this book. I am so grateful. I just it, it, it's just, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much for giving this to me. I cannot tell you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for giving this to me. I know the confidant and the friend, he doesn't quite like the way that I treat this book, but absolutely know that I am grateful. I am so grateful that I have this in my hands right now. Thank you so much for giving this to me. It's regretful that it happened under these circumstances, but regardless, I am grateful to have this right now. I'm grateful to have this in my hands right now because, much like Julia, this book changed my life for the better. Boy, I really laid it on kind of heavy at the end there, huh? I was actually, oh my gosh, I was almost about to cry. I was talking about the book at the very end there. So yeah, I laid it on kind of thick, but like it kind of deserved it. So that was a really important thing to me. So, and finally, last but certainly not least, we have one more item. The reason why I brought up the book, or the reason I brought these things up in the order, is because, well, the next item is very much tied into TLM 23, which you'd think I'd have had my fill of by now, but nope, not quite. I've actually, well, I've had 11 months to soak in TLM 23, and I've actually gotten more attached to that movie as time has progressed, despite having only seen it not even a handful of times. It's kind of weird the way that works out. Anyways, um, if me possessing this book is a follow up to the previous video, this next item is also going to be a follow up to the previous video. In the previous video, I mentioned that I have this particular Funko Pop figure, which is actually a $30 special edition or whatever it is, which is called Ariel and Friends. And I commented, yeah, the paint quality on this is actually quite nice. I really enjoyed this. And there's her. Let's see. There's her really messy fins. I still don't like that part of the character design. Just, and for some reason, Scuttle is nuzzling up to Ariel. Not entirely certain why, but I think it's appropriate for the character. Whatever. And Sebastian's very much hiding in the background, and well, there's Nightmare Ghostfish Flounder right there. Oops, other way. There's Nightmare Ghostfish Flounder right there. Let's see, right there. There we go, right there. See, he's right there. Yay. And I thought this was very impressive. Okay, I really appreciated this, but I didn't want this specifically. Like I knew that this existed, but I didn't want this. What I actually had wanted to get was a TLM 23 version of this. I wanted to have live action Ariel standalone as a mermaid on a display stand or something like that. But they didn't have one. They never made one. The closest, and I said this at the time, the closest that they got, it's going to fall over, be very careful. The closest I could get was this. And this lighting is really bad. I don't know. I need to learn how to color correct on this camera. I need to work on that. Yeah. It's not doing this justice. It's really not. This is actually really well painted, especially the water patterns. But anyways, this was at the time the only way that one could own a Funko Pop version of live action Mermaid Ariel. This is the only way you could have it. And I'm like, girl, I don't want this. I want this. You know, that was a kind of a problem. Well, weeks after I published that video, An announcement was made regarding the San Diego Comic Convention 2023 version, and it turned out that the SDCC exclusive figure was going to be TLM 23 Ariel standalone on a display stand. Oh, are you kidding me? Really? All I had to do was wait 3 or 4 weeks and then I could have gotten one of those? Well, the thing is, you actually had to attend San Diego Comic Con 2023 in order to get one of those things because it wasn't exclusive. Or at least it was until TLM 23 flopped at the box office. More on that another time. So it turns out that there's another version of this floating around. Now, as much as I wanted this version of this, I said it at the time, or I actually debated with myself, do I really want to get a second one of these? It's just Ariel by herself, or live action Ariel by herself. Do I really want to go through that? And the answer was, I actually had to think about it for a bit when Funko announced that, oh yeah, we're going to take the SDCC exclusive, which barely anybody bought because the movie flopped in the theaters. Just saying. Nobody was going for it, and so they decided to announce or to release it to the general public. And I thought to myself, do I really want to get the other version? Do I really want to have two of these at the same time? I mean, this is really good display piece considering what Funko Pop ordinarily makes. And I've got my focus totally wrong. I actually really like the design of this. Like, yeah, I'm willing to pay $30 for this thing, and it's sculpted really well, and it's not generic, bland, boring like this. It's also not. It's also not, this with like the pose or whatever it is. It's like, I don't care, whatever. So it's like, yeah, this is really good quality, and like I'm willing to pay $30 for this and call it good. I thought it was fine. Do I really want to get the solo version where it's just her by herself? Now that I have this, do I want to go and pay another, $12 or $15 for the standalone figure? And I decided, nah, I'm good. This is enough for me. This is good enough for me. And I stand by that decision. This is pretty darn good. I really like this. I do enjoy this. Um, and by the way, there is also a TLM 89 version of this, although it's just Ariel and Sebastian. So I thought about getting that, but I'm like, no, I've got this. I'm good. So, but anyways, I ultimately decided, nah, I don't need to get the solo version of live action Ariel. This is good enough for me. Imagine my surprise when in the box this popped up. Imagine my surprise. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh wow. And again, the sculpting is really well done. Yeah, I still don't like the costume design of the flukes. I still don't like that. But that being said, it is sculpted very well, although it's a little questionable how it's painted. They weren't quite that stark pink, so yeah, I think they could have done that a little differently. But whatever. It's still sculpted very well. I can't see what I'm doing. And also notice, please, 89 Ariel, her display stand was transparent blue, as opposed to live action Ariel, where her display stand is clear. I can live with that. It's almost kind of an interesting contrast. It's like this is the color of water in reality, and this is the color of water in a cartoon. So it's like, yeah, I can live with the differences there. So like, okay, whatever. So yeah, I got what I always wanted, and then chose to not get. And then through a very tragic circumstance, I ended up with it anyways. Oh, just the twists and turns of fate. Just what even? By the way, why are the? That's weird. just the way that fate has shaped my journey in regards to um, all of these figures, not just these two, but everything that I've gotten here. 4 months ago when I got all of these things, just what an absolute god damn. Just mm, how can I put this? I already said earlier in this video that I was not intending to get any of these figures of Ariel or dolls or statuettes. I was not planning to get any of these. It's just the way that reality turned out, and absolutely, I am grateful to that honorable man who shared a bit, or who turned over a piece of his inheritance from somebody that he had actually known for years before I knew her. It's just absolutely. I am so grateful that I was able to acquire these pieces from my girlfriend. Like, I was not planning to get any of these things. Was she planning to give me any of these things? I highly doubt it. I don't know. I have no idea. Would I have gotten any of these things if Julia was still alive right now? Probably not. Maybe this I would have gotten this, but and um maybe I would have gotten. I mean, maybe highly unlikely, but maybe I would have gotten one of the Q poskets. Maybe not this one specifically, but I might have gotten one of these. Um, I did say earlier that I wanted to get, a 12-inch doll of Ariel that was like just a mermaid, can't transform, and kind of posable and replaceable faces and whatever. Like, that's what I would like to get. In terms of getting like a chibi version, yeah, sure, I'll own the chibi versions. And good lord, look how many Funko Pops I've got. What the crap? But I think it's more likely, like the most likely scenario is I probably would have gotten one of these two on my own, even if Julia were still alive today. But gosh, the way that this has turned out is just, mm, mm, just this is this is the legacy of a young woman who was trapped by circumstance and who in the end couldn't find a way out. I had told her that if we got together, I would do the best that I could to stand by her side. And I can't tell you how much it hurts that I was not able to fulfill that promise. That still hurts. God damn, that still hurts. Um, excuse me. I'm gonna hang on to these as a reminder to myself that, yeah, Julia Renzetti existed, and she had dreams and desires, and she had passion, and she even existed. And absolutely, she changed my life. I regret that we can't spend more time together, but I am grateful to have known her for as long as I did. And quite frankly, um, as I pointed out a little bit ago, she absolutely left a mark on my life. She opened my eyes to a couple of things that on my I got it, that focus. Sorry. She absolutely opened my eyes to a couple of possibilities that I had not considered before, and I'm absolutely uh, grateful for that. I just I just wish it hadn't turned out this particular way. I'm going to treasure all of these for as long as I possibly can, because quite frankly, as of recording, this is all I've got left of her. I've still got her Discord accounts. She actually had more than one. Um, and so I've still got those saved. I'm going to try and save as much of that information as I possibly can. That recording that I played earlier in the video, that was, I didn't say it at the time, but that was the very last audio recording that I have of her. That was the very last one that she sent to me. That's it. That's all I got left. Um, but I'm going to do the best that I can to honor her memory. And the way I'm honoring that is by hanging on to these things that she obviously cared about so much. All right, that's it. Video's done. Thank God. I wish it hadn't turned out this way. I wish I didn't even have to make this video, but I need to memorialize this in some way or another. And additionally, I finally made a video. I finally made a reveal or a reveal and unboxing. Yay! Finally, it only took me 11 months. Uh, hopefully, hopefully this video will unstop the drain, and I'll be able to start making more content again. Because, like I said, I've been collecting. I've continued to collect. The whole rest of 2023 and into 2024. In fact, I got something in the mail. Was it yesterday? Day before yesterday? Day before yesterday. Yeah, I got some Lego stuff the other day. I got a spaceship and a crop harvester. So, but but whatever. But anyways, yeah. Hopefully, I can start making videos. Absolutely. If you stayed through this whole video, thank you to you. Absolutely for sticking through this whole thing, and thank you for sticking with my channel. Period. Uh, through thick and quite thin, actually, or quite thick and quite thin in terms of the amount of content I've producing. Thank you so much for hanging around all this time. I hope you enjoyed this video. It took quite a bit of effort for me to put it together and get it released. Um, and please do leave comments. Please do. I can't. I'm sorry. I'm going to say this. I have to say this. I have to say this. Absolutely. Please leave comments. Please do share this video around. The amount of views that I get, the amount of comments, I really do value that feedback from my subscriber base. So please do absolutely leave feedback. I really, really do appreciate that. And quite frankly, I need that feedback. I need to know, am I too long-winded or whatever. Ava, end the bloody video already. God, what is wrong with you? My name is Ava Unit 4A. Thank you very much for tuning in.